Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and I am here with PhoenixPen,
Hi.
and we are going to be talking about the Steven Bomb, the latest one, Steven's birthday Steven Bomb, the five mostly crazy new episodes we got this week. There's going to be giant spoilers.
Yeah.
This video is going to be very podcasty. Think of it like one of my TV logs, but more discussion oriented, and about all five of the episodes. Um, so first up, I guess we'll do general thoughts at the end of like the whole thing. But first up, the answer. This was the episode where Garnet told Steven about how Ruby and Sapphire met. So what are your general thoughts on this?
Sure. So I really like that this episode has great continuity with the other Stephen Bond episode, The Return and Jailbreak, which kind of sets up like, oh, Ruby and Sapphire. So that's just a cool continuity nod to other Stephen Bombs. And I really like this episode. Honestly, it's so cheesy. It's so like emotionally corny and romantic. But it's good because it's subtle and it doesn't always go into the directions you want it to go in. And yeah, I just think it has cool callbacks. It has a song. I mean, I'm a sucker for all of Rebecca Sugar's songs and everyone who composes the songs on Steven Universe. So I mean, it definitely started off the week of episodes really in a big way with so much exposition, romance, music, and like beautiful scenery. Oh my god. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and it gave me a lot to think about in general about the gem culture and Garnet's like first fusion state and a lot of other things that she said in the past. So overall, it's a pretty cool episode to even rewatch.
You know, it's funny. I was just rewatching these episodes with my girlfriend, and she said when the rubies fused and just became a bigger ruby, she's like, "Oh, that's it, just a bigger ruby." And it's like, that's the point. Fusion was lame before Garnet. It was just, oh, okay, here's a bigger version of you, and like that's what the episode is about. So I liked this episode. I didn't honestly the first time I watched it, I didn't quite like it that much. I thought it was just like, all right, it's a good episode. Because the thing is, it's not. I don't think it's an episode that's particularly original in its story. It's like, oh, you have the two lovers from different social classes, and fate brings them together, and they just find love. And on the surface, that's what it is, and it's not. It's not the story that like everyone was kind of expecting this story.
Hmm.
Um, but the second time I watched it. I'm like, this is really cute. Like this is Steven Universe. Like if there's an episode that would kind of maybe I don't know that this would be the best introduction, but I think an episode that kind of sums up what the show is and what it does with story. It's this. It's that it doesn't necessarily have the most like original or different story, but the way it's told and the little things like the songs and the designs and stuff kind of make it so. It makes it special.
I agree. I think the story itself, or the concept of like
Mhm.
two different casts have somehow they met, and one is like has whatever opposite powers. One is like fire, one is like ice, one's emotional, one's analytical. Like yeah, it's very straightforward in terms of like they're opposites, but they attract each other. But the way that they portray that, and especially the way that they weave that into the larger story of someone finding self-discovery and how much that person affects Steven and other people in the Steven, canon. It's really nice, and I really like Garnet's first fusion, which is like very cotton candy, and
Yes.
very like kind of innocent and very unsure, and that was pretty cool because like yeah, the first time they fused, it wasn't like aha, Garnet, the awesome, confident, like cool, she has
They
a gauntlet.
fell. They fell, or she fell. Like that is the most unGarnet thing. You'll never see Garnet trip. Like when Garnet rolled out of the van in that one episode, she like tucked and rolled like a boss. She didn't like awkwardly flop out of the van, and to see that, it's like, wow, this is the beginning of Garnet. Um, so yeah, so I did love Garnet's original design. What about what did you think of the way they did the other gems in the silhouette thing?
Um, so I guess this is also kind of common thinking is like either you love it or you hate it, because I'm sure a lot of people would have loved to see more designs of all the other gems and diamonds and rubies. But I think it worked really well because the story is being told to Steven, and I'm sure this is kind of like how he's imagining it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the main characters are Sapphire and Ruby, and she's obviously not focusing. Maybe you get to see a little bit of Blue Diamond, but she's not focusing on the people that are around her, but the people that Steven knows about, like Pearl and Rose. And
if you notice, the only characters that are like voiced are the ones that Steven knows. Blue Diamond is voiced by Garnet, but Steven knows what Garnet sounds like. Steven knows what Ruby and Sapphire sound like. He even knows what Rose sounds like and Pearl. So those characters all have voices, but the background gems don't. They're voiced by Garnet when they're like, "Oh, how unusual," or less stupid writing than that, whatever they say.
Yeah, I think it was done really well because it draws your attention to the characters you should be focusing on. Obviously, it's not giving this whole like super detailed a picture of Gem World, but it's probably better that way in this case because you want to have something to look forward to. You want to see more of Gem culture, their technology, what do they wear, and this is just a small hint of that.
It still feels special when we see a gem. Now, I agree with you on that. I think it is very clever how they did that. Personally, though, I'm just gonna say I don't like specifically how they did it with like the mouths being see-through and them looking like cardboard cutouts. It reminded me too much of like Ed Nettie. And I know Rebecca Sugar has a sordid history with Ed Nettie, so I don't know. I don't like hate it or anything, but I feel like I don't know. It was a little corny in that aspect. I'm sure there was a different visual way they could have done it. I don't know. I think it's probably just a matter of taste.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad. I wish that the rubies themselves had some more distinctive features other than where
the gems. I thought that was clever though. I thought that was how else would you sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just expecting maybe them to maybe have like different hair tufts or maybe slightly different, I don't know, ranks. But yeah, they just look like three of the same rubies, which is not bad. I just kind of felt like, oh my God, are we going to see like so many different pearls and so many different amethysts?
Well,
I think they worked around it in an interesting way in the future episodes about pearls. So that was cool.
Well, that's what's kind of cool about all our main characters is that outside of now the green one, Peridot, they are all unique because Pearl, from what we see in this episode, each pearl that belongs to a different diamond does look different. So there might be other pearls that look exactly like our pearl, but I'm not so sure. I think pearls might be a very specific butler only for diamonds. Maybe there might be more of our pearls, but it looks like it'd be cool if this was the only pearl with this color scheme, and then Garnet's obviously unique, and then Amethyst, she's the runt. That's what makes her unique, and
different, yeah.
She would stand out in a crowd, and Steven. But yeah, I see where you're coming from there. What about the song?
Oh, I liked it. I have such a problem about liking every single song, even when they start sounding the same because they're trying to arrange it like Stronger Than You, or they're trying to have the same melody and chords, and obviously
that was intentional. Like that.
Yeah, it was intentional. So you kind of feel like it's not out of whatever laziness or repetition. They're doing it on purpose. But it's still catchy. It's really cute. I like that it's more of a conversation. It has moments of them saying and weird pauses. That's different. It's cool.
I agree. It's not one that's gonna be in my like top 5 Steven Universe songs or anything, but it was very cute. It was Garnet's a conversation, and there's the conversation. I don't know how I would feel if like Ruby had like a belting song. I don't necessarily know that all the characters on this show have the singing voices that could do what Estelle does with Garnet, or what happens with Pearl or Steven. Like they all have great singing voices. And Amethyst, not to hate on any Amethyst fans.
Yeah.
But I don't know like about Ruby. Although we'll talk about that more when we talk about Peridot's song. Do you think this episode felt too short?
Well, yeah, it did feel really short just because, Garnet has so much time to show her complexities through like future vision and other episodes where you get to understand more about Garnet and all their aspects. And then, this episode is so short because we only get to see Ruby and Sapphire for a little bit and they go straight into, her meeting Rose Quartz and Pearl, and it's kind of wraps
And the
up that.
wraparound, yep, the wraparound segment takes up time in the episode. Not much, but um, yeah, I feel like this. I was happy with what it was, but I feel like this is one of those times when I would have been a lot happier with 22 minutes or even like 16. I feel like a few more minutes, a little more of Ruby and Sapphire. And of course, I have this crazy feeling we're going to see more flashbacks, considering now this is like the third story that someone's telling Steven. We're going to get more of it. It's not like we're never going to see Ruby and Sapphire's past again. But yeah, I mean, it was short and sweet. Could have used a little more, but I'm happy with what I got. Anything?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, at the same time, they are simplistic characters in some respects. We already see how they interact in Keystone Motel and Stronger Than You. So
That's true.
It's good that they didn't overdo it and overemphasize like so much of it because I don't know, Garnet is the mysterious character. We kind of don't know exactly what she's going to do next or how she's going to react. Sometimes she gives you a thumbs up and sometimes she scolds you. So it's interesting that they kind of still keep people on their toes. I mean, that's pretty much the Steven Universe way of just giving a little bit of information, and then there's like a big reveal or like a big twist.
Okay, so anything about Pearl and Rose in the flashback that you found interesting?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How did you feel about just seeing that the only rebels are Pearl and Rose Quartz? I, for some reason, thought there were more.
That's interesting. Yeah, there must be more, but there has to be more. Rose had many friends, as they say, and Rose could only save a few of them with her shield. That's what they say. There has to be more rebels. It is a bit weird that it's like Rose and Pearl just kind of run into this enemy camp, start slaying people left and right, and then when things start to get dramatic with Garnet, they just like nope, they just super jump out of there. It's like, is this how like gem warfare is? You just jump into the base and then just jump away. Since gems can only like fly whenever it's plot convenient, and if a character needs to get away, they can just do it with no questions asked. Peridot.
Yeah, that was interesting. I wasn't sure if it was just like one of those weird, like, is it real or is it a metaphor? Like, and then Pearl and Rose, the characters we know, are there.
It might be like, it is a story. It is a story being told to Steven. I'm sure Garnet's not going to want to like tell Steven like the long, complicated history and like, oh, your mom did this and that and this. I'm sure it was just like, and then the mighty Rose showed up and made an epic exit or something like that. That's probably what Garnet said, and then that's what was represented. But yeah, it's always cool to see more Rose. I love what we'll leave this episode on is there's a theme throughout the whole series, but especially in this Steven bomb of the Earth has this power to change gems. Rose was apparently always compassionate, but it seemed to be that the Earth is kind of like what made her rebel against all of gem life. It made Pearl turn from whatever servant she was in the past to a really passionate fighter. And it made Garnet, it made Ruby, or it made Sapphire be able to not see the future anymore, and it made something magical and unexpected happen. I think that's kind of a theme throughout the series, is that there's something about the Earth itself that is able to let these gems change in a way they could not have done it on Homeworld.
I definitely agree. So when you watch these episodes back to back, you kind of come up with a theory of like, why is this happening to gems who are so loyal to Homeworld? Or like, why would they want to defend the Earth for so long if all they known, and they obviously are programmed with the propaganda of Homeworld, then to suddenly give that all up? And they mentioned that with the Garnet fusion, like, why would they give it all up? And there's definitely this feeling of something about Earth, something about being exposed to Earth culture, or just the beauty of Earth, or being independent away from a gem colony.
I know the answer. Love.
Love. Yeah,
It's love.
yeah, I already know. I already knew that answer.
Yeah, that is true. The title of the episode was I found that to be kind of weird. It's just like, yeah, it's love. Like, duh. This wasn't a big twist. All right.
It's so cute.
Yes, of course. Steven's birthday. General thoughts.
So, how about you go first on your general thoughts on this one?
Okay. I think this was the most simplistic of all the episodes we got in the week. Just in that it's a straightforward. It follows that formula that a lot of the season 1 episodes did of Steven discovers a new power / uses one that he kind of had before, and he kind of messes around with it. Things go to a really weird, dark place before happy ending. And I liked it. I don't mean that it's like simple and that's bad. It's like comparing it to episodes where we find out more things about the diamonds. It's like not even in the same category. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
But on that same level, it's another episode that's so cute. Oh my gosh, Steven and Connie. How can you not love the two of them? Is there a way?
I know they make all the characters lovable, just like cute and adorable and useful. I think that's the ultimate thing. Like all the characters serve a purpose. None of them are like, randomly need to be saved or randomly just, cause mischief. Like all of them are actually like characters you want to watch and follow and see them succeed and have adventures with them because they're not annoying. They're actually really cute and awesome. Yeah, the one thing I was going to say about this episode, though I do feel like it's probably the most simplistic out of all the episodes, I really like that the gems are not fighting in this episode. They're playing like badminton and dancing together. Pearl and Amethyst are getting along. I mean, this is like mom and dad are not fighting anymore. All the gems are having fun together. Yay!
They throw a great party. Yeah, and I like they. Okay, so I'm gonna say it, and this is me because this is what I do. The plot itself is it's a Shaggy Dog story type thing where it's like, you saw the previews. If you saw the ad, you saw the previews. Steven's not staying this age, and if you know anything about like the way television works and stuff, there's no way they're just aging him up in this random episode. Like, there's no way they're gonna make all the toys and all the promotional art rendered useless because Steven now looks different. No way they'd do that. But I still think it was a fun story to watch, even if, and obviously he wasn't gonna stay a baby. Like the part where Connie was talking about it as if this wasn't something that was going to be reversed. I was kind of sitting there being like, okay, yeah, Steven Universe, sure. Like, you should be saying, we'll get this fixed, not I'm going to babysit him. That's
yeah, it's a little overboard, but it might just be because we're used to animated shows and nothing stays the same. If someone gets a cut on their face,
nothing changes. You mean
their hairstyle? The next episode's back to normal, more or less. But it was fun to see the character interactions with Greg, and it shows that he isn't just a deadbeat dad, that he actually took care of baby Steven and knows how to take care of them. And it's cute. Yeah, obviously I love the human characters. After like spending a long time with all the gems and Peridot, it's good to have like some grounded human characters so we can see that, human characters are important and useful, and Steven loves them very much. If they didn't put enough airtime for Greg and Connie, which they haven't done for a bit, you'd still feel like, wait, where are they again?
Team Human. Team Human. Yeah. And I mean, like, well, this episode kind of goes to show one of the great things of Steven Universe, which I also wish they didn't spoil in the teaser. Steven's 14. Nobody had any idea. I mean, like, I guesses, but like the fact that the character's age is a mystery. Like, even that bit of information is an important bit of information that they're not just going to give you up front in some promotional material. That's a mystery. We have to save it for like a season 2 episode. Like, that's cool. That's cool that they withheld information from us, and it ended up being a plot point.
Yeah. So overall, I guess episode kind of not like super big impact. I probably won't remember the episode too much.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that the gems are, not fighting. They're coming together, and The main conflict is not between the gems; it's actually Steven and kind of his own personal self. So yeah, Steven
It
gets
it
out.
it was it was also, it's a weird episode because it's kind of something, I don't know about you, but it's something that kind of like crossed my mind at one point, that like, okay, so Steven could remain a kid forever. Like, there's no problem with this. He doesn't go to school. He's happy the way he is. There's no problems here, except for Connie. Connie's the only thing, because if he wants to grow up with Connie, things would be very weird if he stayed a kid and Connie didn't. Like, undeniably weird.
Yep.
In more ways than one. So I'm kind of glad they dispelled that. They're like, okay, yeah, don't worry, he's aging. He will. It's just gonna be on a weird scale, maybe.
Yeah, he'll be slower. And in general, some shows, none of the characters really age or even have birthdays. It's just kind of perpetual. Like, you don't know if it's taken a month to do this or a week or a year, and they just kind of stay the same. So you don't even wonder, like, oh, are these characters growing up at the same rate? Well, I don't know. They're not growing at all because all the episodes show the same thing. But I think Connie got sort of taller in the new intro. She looks slightly different.
Possibly. Connie had a giant head in this episode.
Oh my god, yes.
I love this show to death, and I love the art in it, but I have to say, they have a really hard time staying on model. And sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's for a joke, and I'm cool with that. But like, other times they're just doing like a serious scene, and something will be just off proportion by a lot, and it's just distracting.
Yeah, sometimes when Amethyst and Steven are in the same shot, Amethyst looks way smaller somehow, like just crunched up, and I'm like, what happened to her in that scene? Like, yeah. Well, it goes back to normal.
There's the infamous Pearl's face shrinkage in like the second episode, where Pearl just has a tiny face, like her eyes and mouth and nose are just like all tiny. But anyway, back to this episode. I also thought, not to be like too negative here, but I have to be because I am. I thought the facial hair thing at the end was like a really like cliche bogus thing. I understand they wanted to show that he was growing without actually having to make him look older. But I've seen that a lot. I've seen that on I saw it on Gravity Falls. They did that with Dipper and his chest hair. Like that literally is like the same exact thing. Gravity Falls wasn't the first one to do that. I don't know. It's like I still liked the episode, but I do have to say that is a bit on the nose. Would you have liked it if he stayed older? Would you have cared, basically?
I'm trying to think.
Well, because I mean, technically, he wouldn't have been older. His age is his age. Like, the number of years he's been on the planet is not changing. But in terms of how he looks, I suppose.
You know, I don't think I would mind, basically because I have a lot of like faith in the Steven Universe crew to, like, if they make a decision, then they'll have it pay off in some way. Like, you know, maybe a little bit from, you know, Adventure Time, just whatever is happening in this episode, if they say they're going to stick to it, then it's going to be forgotten about in like 2 minutes. Or, you know, I kind of feel like the Steven Universe crew gets a pass because they haven't done anything like that yet. They haven't done like such a big change that really messed with me. Like, I guess the Garnet's outfit changed, but they're consistent.
Well, wait until a few episodes from now. There's a big change.
Yeah. Well, I'm not looking at no spoilers, okay? So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would have been fine with it. I'm not like too upset that they reverted him back, but I thought it would have been neat. The only thing, and tell me if you get this, and this is just the actor's voice. This has nothing to do with the voice he was doing. I believe Steven's older voice is just his voice, and we heard it also in Garnet's universe. He was narrating. He sounds a lot like Jeremy Shada, Finn from Adventure Time. Am I crazy, or do you get that vibe?
He does. They do have similar voices, but I could still hear Steven in the voice more than I could hear Finn. But they do have the same kind of like whistly. They go from sounding mature to kind of they're more like kiddish and
little crack. It sounds like both of them are kind of stuck in puberty, and that's a little mean because I think both of them are about my age. They're like 20 something.
But yeah, I wouldn't be upset so much if the voice changed or those character model changed that much, because I think they would adjust to it. They would have some sort of better conclusion than, oh, he has some hair on his chin that we're not going to show each episode, because I mean, that's just one piece of hair, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that important.
That's I don't. Also, as a guy, I'm like 98% sure that's not how facial hair works. I don't think you get just the one, especially not with like Greg's genetics. I'd imagine Greg and Rose's genetics. I'd imagine not.
What if it was pink, dude? That would be so cool. I just thought about that. What if he had a pink beard somehow?
like just a giant pink curly beard.
Yes. Rose, is that you?
That would have been funny if, like, when he steps out of the bar and everyone's like, "What?" and it's just Rose. He looks exactly like Rose.
Oh, they're not gonna do it, but I think it'd be so funny if somehow, if they age him up, he has like one pink string of hair. I don't know.
We've seen a possible future of Steven in Too Many Birthdays, or So Many Birthdays, but that the crew has made it explicit that is a possible future. He could age anyway. Anyway. Yeah. So final thoughts. I do think it is the weakest of the Steven bomb, and I guess the best way to describe this for me is that it feels like a season 1 episode with all the good things, in that it's like, it's a lighter episode, it's a more friendly episode, it's easier for you to get into if you're not an adamant watcher of the show, but at the same time it's not nearly as complex or interesting as any of the other things going on. Also, one last point I wanted to make is that even though they didn't physically make him older, the fact that he said he wants to be, what is it? He said, I can't be first boy when Connie becomes president. That's like a drop, like, hey, I want to marry Connie. Like, that's a really, we've never seen that from Steven,
I think it's so cheesy. It's like what you said. It's like you can't have an episode with, Steven and Connie and not just be like, oh, pile of mush on the ground. And it's so cute. Like, even if he doesn't really understand, like, oh, I want to marry somebody and be with them my entire life, it just seems like he has like a lot of passion.
But I think that was the way of showing his internal growth, is that even though he's not physically going to change, he's shown more interest in Connie in this, like love interest, not best friends, in this episode than any of the previous ones. And I think that shows that he's aging in a way that the other ones didn't, especially if he's 14. If he's 14, he's definitely not like ignorant to the ways of love.
Yeah, so that's at least the positive. In a kind of couple of lines, you can kind of see that he is growing up and maturing, but not at like somehow a growth spurt rate that we wouldn't know that it's Steven anymore. He's still Steven, but he's a little bit older and more mature.
And speaking of maturing, the next episode, well, that segue doesn't really work. It's more for message received. But anyway, the next episode is It Could Have Been Great. So this is the episode where they go to the moon. It's just, we need something. It's on the moon.
I don't know now.
Yeah, everyone was like, there's gonna be a warp pad on the moon. That's how they get to homeworld. Nope. It's a base. There might be a warp pad. Actually, I suppose it's not like unconfirmed, but or disproven. But yeah, they go to the moon. What do you think about this?
So I'll start with my general thoughts. So overall, in terms of plot, I think it was like kind of they needed to have some more character development, or just some more like emotional beats, so they had to get the coordinates on the moon. But obviously, it's kind of a, they still have the same goal, and they just go there to get some coordinates, but it's the journey. And I love that they had another song, because I'm a sucker for songs, and I really can't believe even a song I don't really like the lyrics to, I still like, because, go figure. I like that they explain more about how gems think, with Paradox spewing gem propaganda and talking about we were made to serve them, and how Steven basically acts as Rose Quartz stand-in, because he has more patience with Peridot than the other gems. So
you're getting into message received a little bit, though.
Yeah. I
think it's pretty clear. It Could Have Been Great is like the setup to message received. It's the return to Jailbreak, basically. in that. And it's also important to remember, and I feel like this will get forgotten in the shuffle of the episodes that came after it, and even before it, Peridot gives us a lot of information. This confirms the Diamond Authority. Peridot name drops it. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure they did not say that anywhere else outside of Ronaldo's ramblings. That confirms that. She talks about Blue Diamond a little, and she talks about Yellow Diamond. Also, since we're on the topic of diamonds, I know there's a lot to talk about with this, but I don't want to forget this. White Diamond is shown, the picture of her is shown without really any context, and just remember that. I'll talk about that at the end after all the episodes. But I think it's interesting that we did get to learn more of that, and we get to see like the full extent of what Homeworld's plan was. Like, we literally see it. The gems say we're looking at it.
Yeah. So yeah, what was your overall thoughts of this episode compared to the ones that come before and after? How does
I thought it could have been great, and it was. Sorry,
that was a good setup.
I stretch it. No, I think it is, but I think it's also hard to talk about it without talking about message received, especially because they were aired one day after the other. Yeah, the song itself was cute, even though I don't think Peridot's a good singer, but I think maybe I just came up with this theory. Okay, listen to this. What if you don't become a good singer until you join the Crystal Gems? What if that's the magic? Once you're a part of the Crystal Gems, you have a beautiful singing voice, and until then, you're a little awkward.
I think you learn the harmony because you're a Crystal Gem, and all the other gems, I don't know, maybe they just don't understand music. It seems like Peridot explains in this episode that she doesn't understand music at any level at all, which would be so strange because we see, we see Amethyst and Garnet and Rose and Pearl sing in a band and seem like they have a good grasp of music.
They were on the Earth for a while. They were on the Earth for a while, thousands of years.
So they get music. So it's just one of those small things, like, Peridot discovering brain or developing this kind of understanding of nature and music. And it's so bizarre because when you think about it, it's like, wow, the Homeworld's value system and the way that their societies run is really, really different. But we only get to see that through Peridot, which is a little bit of a brat. So you kind of get annoyed with her sometimes, but you also realize she's really oblivious to like so much information.
Yes, that was one of my notes for this episode, is that Peridot just doesn't understand it, and you see this in message received as well. She's not. I mean, the whole thing is like, outside of fiction, no one thinks of themselves as the bad guy. Well, most people don't. You're pretty crazy if you think you're a bad guy. Like, you think you're evil. No one really describes themselves as evil. And likewise here, Peridot she's not thinking the same way that Steven and everyone else is, and she comes from a totally different place. They all come from that place outside of Amethyst, but they haven't been there. She's a different, it's a total different culture, and she's clearly trying to understand. And I don't think the gems get that she doesn't understand either. They're thinking like, oh man, she just, she's not doing this, and she, like, oh, why is she pushing our buttons by saying, by bragging about the Homeworld's plan? She's not trying to do anything. She doesn't understand it. She thinks she's being logical.
Yeah, that's actually the one thing that I think they're trying to mold Peridot into somebody who is developing kind of a sense of humor and all this other stuff. But it's what you mentioned, like the episode message received, is you really can't just ignore it. Like, that episode shows how she is, like, Peridot is still very confused about who she is and what she's trying to be. And it seems to be like the kind of, you're seeing how Earth culture and the Crystal Gems and Steven are kind of messing around with Peridot's programming to the point where she can't logic herself out of understanding what's wrong with her. Because, yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that doesn't have logic, like music. And when she tries to understand it, she's just like, I don't get this. Like, I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it, you guys, but I can't sing, and I can't. I don't understand why you like it. I don't. And
she can't even express the sentiment of, I'm trying, but I don't quite get it. She can't even. She doesn't even understand how to do that. She's just like, why are you doing this? Like, she can't even be. She's not self-aware enough to say, you're a different culture. She's just like, you're wrong, you know?
Yeah. I
Um,
think that, yeah, I think she has a little bit of this bipolar stuff because she either
oh,
is like really happy about something and like really into it, or like really upset, but she like flip flops back and
save
forth.
that for log date. So final thoughts on It Could Have Been Great. I also save this thought for later. I think the moon base might belong to White Diamond, judging by the color scheme and everything, and that they cut to her. It could just be it's the moon. They wanted to make it white looking because that would go along with it. But just throwing that out there. Could have made it yellow. You know,
Yeah.
Yellow Diamond. I think it's White Diamond. I'm starting to sound like Ronaldo here. A little thing. Steven on the moon. Okay, I think this is one of those examples where it's just not going to make any sense. It doesn't matter. It's a cartoon. You know what I mean? I don't think this is I don't think this is a gem thing, like a Steven gem thing, because Steven's shown to be cold before. Like, you know, he gets cold. So even if you can excuse like he doesn't need to breathe or something, he'd be frozen the second Amethyst opened that door. Or was it Amethyst? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's just one of those things where it's just like, don't think about it. Just ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, people are probably trying to figure out like, wait, how much does Steven need to breathe? How many breaths of air? How much cold can his skin handle based on previous episodes?
Yeah,
But
it's a story.
A lot of times it's just for story, and sometimes it's like, okay, just suspend your disbelief for a second. Jimmy Neutron kids can go into space and not do like just.
I was just thinking
it's okay to just gloss over like small, like scientifical things.
If you got as close to lava as Steven was in like Together Breakfast, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things you just accept because fiction always does this. And also, never mind. I don't know what I was about to say.
my last thoughts on this episode is I like that Lion is useful.
Yeah, and Steven has some sort of control over him.
Somehow. Yeah, and I love that little song that he sings. I was bouncing on the moon one day, because that's a back to an actual space mission. I think Apollo 17. They were singing the song. I was walking on the moon one day, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is such an obscure callback, and I need to pause and write this note down because I'm very happy.
That's what I was thinking. Just that like it's not that important because this episode could have taken place anywhere. I don't think the moon specifically is that important, but I think they wanted a cool backdrop, right? An otherworldly backdrop. They wanted a place they couldn't warp to, although I guess that's not that important. And also, I would guess that the reason why they set this episode there is because when Peridot shows the image of the decayed Earth, it's over our actual Earth. I think it was just a cool visual thing. It's not that important. Just like how whatever part they were there to find, not important. I don't even remember what the excuse was. It's a MacGuffin. It's just the point.
Yeah, they need to get the coordinates of something, and I think they broke the control panel after. So I'm like, okay, great. I hope you guys got the coordinates.
The other thing, the last thing, that object. You know, the black object in the.
Oh yeah.
You know. Oh, this is also sounding Ronaldo-y. You know how inside Lion's mane, there's the thing that looks like bismuth that everyone's saying.
Yes.
Maybe there's something that each like diamond gem, and again this is assuming Rose is a diamond, total theory. Maybe there's like something special about that particular material. I maybe they're related in some way, or maybe it's just another bubbled gem, just in general. Their version.
It's something special, but they're totally just like teasing us with.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so much stuff we could go into, but we can't yet. So,
yeah, there's nothing else to say. So yeah, I think in general it was a good episode. I loved how serious everyone got at the end. Like they were all dead serious, like Pearl and Garnet and everything. I think it's good, but I think it's like one of those things where it's a setup to the next episode. So it's hard to look at this episode alone as it is. And I don't think we really need to, because we're going to talk about message received now.
On to the next one. Okay, so message received. I would like to know your general thoughts before digging into all the funness of this episode.
Okay, so yeah, we're probably going to talk about this one the most. This is the episode, the Yellow Diamond reveal. Mind you, the Yellow Diamond reveal that Cartoon Network on their website used as the thumbnail for the episode.
How could you? How could you, Cartoon Network?
Thank the diamonds above that I watched this episode live and not on the online service because that's not cool, man. That's really not cool. Um, anyway, my general thoughts on the episode: amazing, amazing. The entire the I thought I was convinced this was going to be the story of how Steven learns that not everyone can be saved, that people and gems have their own individual thoughts and feelings, and you can't always win with people. And I know this might be a little contrary to Steven Universe's message, but I thought that might have been what this episode was about. I thought it was going to be like, Steven, you poured your heart into this, and I'm sorry, bud. Some people are just, you can't really change them. And then they just do a total 180. And it's great. It's totally great. This is like the opposite of the Ruby and Sapphire story, where that one was like your typical story. And this one, I felt like this was something I haven't seen. I haven't seen the setup. They fooled me. They genuinely fooled me. And not that I'm like above everyone else, but just that I see this stuff so much. I see these stories. You recognize the patterns, and you think you know where it's going. And when you're so sold on, you know, this is going to happen like this, and it pulls a left field, but still one that makes sense thing like this, you're so ecstatic and happy, and it's great. I think this episode best one of the Steven Bomb, and it one of my new favorites. Definitely worthy of the reveal of Yellow Diamond. You?
Yes, I agree. This one stand out with me the most. After I watched this episode, I rewatched the interaction between Yellow Diamond and Peridot again because it was just so good. It was like the song "Stronger Than You." It's just one of those things that's like, wow, this is so interesting, well scripted. I just want to watch it again because every single line kind of shocked me. And
chilling. It was chilling.
I felt like I forgot what happened the next line. I just rewatched it, and I definitely think the conversation between them was the best part of the episode, and it just reveals like so much crazy internal logic between the diamonds and Peridot, and of course the best facial expression ever from Yellow Diamond. It just totally, they were like, screw the model, screw like the art style. We're gonna do like full on crazy facial expression.
And that's fine. That's perfectly great for like dramatic reasons when it doesn't look like goofy, when it looks like exaggerated for drama. Totally fine on that. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, it was great. I love that she called Yellow Diamond New Claude. I love that we go into the whole like traitor amongst us, but maybe they were reformed, but no, they're not reformed, and blah blah blah. Somehow it went straight into now you're a crystal gem, which, come on, that's like crazy. I did not expect that.
No one. Yeah. No. I mean, no. Everyone. Pretty well, not everyone, but a lot of people thought and wanted Parademption, as it's called, in the fandom. But I don't think that many people would have expected it in this episode. The second to last of the Steven Bomb. Like, it's not even the last, and we'll talk about that when we talk about Log D, because I think that's very interesting. But it seemed like such a... I mean, it definitely was the part 2, and there was definitely building to something, but, like, to go there, it's great. It's so great. It felt like we've spent so much time with Peridot, and it's, like, finally time for something big, a big paradigm shift.
Yeah, I like that they took a big risk because maybe Peridot is not endearing to everyone because she doesn't really learn very quickly. She's very bratty, and you know, in general, her personality is more of like a know-it-all that knows nothing. So maybe
she's a child.
To everyone. But you know, I think they showed so much development. They showed so much conflict, and it's interesting. It's something to talk about. I'm sure some people feel like, wait, this is so out of character for Peridot. Like, how did this happen? But then we have the next episode.
Yep.
Who's that, I guess. And in general, it shows like how much the diamonds belittle and have contempt for other gems, and how much Peridot kind of was valued and had her own autonomy on Earth, that now she just feels like, well, you know, I am valuable, I am smart, or I have good ideas.
I'm not Peridot, you know, Facet 12 6YZ. I'm Peridot. That says it all. You know, she doesn't go by Peridot, blah blah blah. She addresses the Yellow Diamond as Peridot just out of habit. Because she's given agency. She's not, And I think this is something, maybe this ties into it, but like you look at the 2 youngest gems that we've seen, which is Amethyst and Peridot, because remember Peridot was after the war and everything.
Mhm.
There seems to be a naivete, and you have to imagine these gems, these other gems, have been living for hundreds of thousands of years. I think it's been confirmed at
Yeah.
least. You have to imagine what it's like to be living for like 10,000 years versus someone living 100,000 years. Like, could you imagine the difference in like how we view elders and stuff of like knowledgeable and stuff, except they're not like senile elders. They're like elders of like wisdom and stuff. You have to imagine how much trust you'd have in someone who's been around for that long versus you who's only been around for comparatively nothing.
Yeah, and that's why I guess the rebellion even happened is just, there's the way things are done, and then you have this kind of influx of new ideas and new emotions and so much stuff that just can't be changed. You can't change a society from the top down, really, because everyone is older or everyone has more experience. So it kind of comes from the younger generation basically
You can't,
overtaking.
yeah, and you can't blame you can't blame the younger people for going along with it, the ones that do, because it's like 90% of the world believes, slavery is okay. That other, you can't blame, like, it's a product of the time. Like everyone thought that way because everyone else thought that way, and if you thought it was wrong, you're like one in everyone else. Not to throw like a real life example in here, I was just using a metaphor.
I mean, yeah, for the homeworld gems, it seems very clear that it could be a metaphor for a lot of things. Just like a huge amount of social issues. Basically, any social issue that we now find like obvious, like yeah, owning people is not cool. Maybe discriminating people based on how they were born is totally not cool either, or whatever. It seems like gem society is just an example of like a society that has those ideas wrong and how those ideas get overturned by these other rebellious factions, but it's not
And
seen. Oh, sorry, go
if
ahead.
sorry.
I was going to say that, yeah, it just seems like you can see the process in the smaller arc of Peridot, how she is very conflicted and upset and lost and confused and doesn't have a lot of understanding of what she's doing and how she's affecting other people, but she wants to do the right thing, but you can see it's going to take time. It's not like, I'm happy at least they didn't do this for Steven Universe, which is, I don't know, Steven saves Peridot's life, or she has an epiphany and she realizes, wait a minute, I was wrong all along.
It's
Oh,
not
well,
one
then,
moment.
yeah,
It's not one moment. That's the great thing. This redemption, even though this is the moment where she is a crystal gem, she's had moments before this and even after this in Log Date, although I guess technically that's before this, but also after this and the scenes that take place after it. There's tons of moments of her kind of learning something. Not totally flipping, not like her mindset has just been flopped like a pancake. Little things.
Yeah, I'm just happy this is just one of those small realizations that they didn't do it in one sweeping gesture, which a lot of shows do. It's like bad guys bad, then they're bad the whole time. Then suddenly they realize they're wrong and they join forces with the good guys and they never question it. It seems like yeah, you don't get that.
Little Gideon. um, sorry, you
Yeah,
wouldn't get that
I mean,
reference.
yeah. So yeah, that's just a standard trope. It just shows like all you have to do is have one moment where, and the character will realize and change their mind. Not so much if you are programmed to serve, a diamond
Yeah.
authority, and all you know in your entire life is based on that hierarchy and your caste and all that stuff. Suddenly to go to a planet you don't know, full of people that don't like you and maybe just hate you in general, and be like, oh, I'm going to change my mind suddenly, and just join with them because my homeworld hates me or something. No, she's really a conflicted character, and yeah, it was cool. It was just
So,
cool to see this episode.
so here's the biggest thing that I think, perhaps the most interesting thing, maybe the most telling thing about Yellow Diamond, maybe the most telling thing about the gems, is that Peridot was under the impression that Yellow Diamond would be rational and logical and care about logic above all else. And that was one of the things a lot of people thought. A lot of people thought maybe the gem race is one of just like pure logic, no emotion whatsoever. But when we see Yellow Diamond, she has a grudge against Earth. She clearly does not. And it's not because she won't listen to Peridot, although she clearly belittles her. She listens a little bit. She doesn't immediately like hang up on her, but like she doesn't care about what resources Earth has. She doesn't care about the value. She has a grudge. because of I don't know, losing the war or kind of losing the war in a way. We don't exactly know the result of the war outside of Earth somewhat won. She clearly has a grudge. She's not logical, and I think that's kind of what's interesting, that the gems aren't like in a race that's just logic, but I think they're a race that is very simple emotions. They can only kind of work in simple emotions, and I think that kind of put off an air like they are logical and rational and reasonable, when in reality they kind of let their emotions control them, even though they don't seem to even really know what emotions are.
Yeah, and you can see this in the first episode of the Stephen Bomb 2 with the answer, because we see that once they accidentally fuse, Ruby and Sapphire have this kind of weird like moment. They're like, what was that? And when Ruby sends to be shattered, Sapphire just has this moment of, very intense emotional, this like shame that how could somebody be, crushed and destroyed just because they saved somebody else's life. Like, it's just not fair. There's nothing, it's nothing, no one was actually hurt in this process. They just have this weird like crazy influx of emotion. So you get to see it, that they're not completely logical. Like, why would you destroy a perfectly good ruby just for accidentally fusing and then unfusing? It's like, because you're trying to show a message, you're trying to send it out and say, this is not cool, this is messed up. But in reality, it's like, well, the logic behind that is kind of messed up. Like, you would destroy somebody just out of an accident.
They're warmongers, is what they are, and it seems like, I mean, they have emotion. They just don't have the softer emotions. They have the anger, the jealousy, the grudge. They have, look at Jasper. They have emotions. It's just they're not the good emotions. Basically, they have the bad ones, and they don't seem self-aware enough to realize. And of course, this is just, we still don't know that much about that many gems, so this is just speculation based upon what I saw of Yellow Diamond. But considering Peridot once thought Yellow Diamond was entirely logical and rational, and now seeing it could just be that she is rational, except for Planet Earth. That's the one grudge. Maybe that's what she got from Planet Earth. When she came down, instead of having her magical moment where she, becomes happy and learns something new, she becomes this angry, bitter woman.
Yeah, I mean, that is just an interesting point about how gems interact with emotion, and what is their kind of like, how are they actually built? Like, are they built to be logical? Or are they built to be destructive and just eat up resources and conquer planets continuously? But it seems like, yeah, they do have innate emotions, and they can become very explosive, or just like, run by fury, or run by sadness, or run by something else.
Or here's one possible thought: what if Yellow Diamond is being rational? What if Yellow Diamond knows something about the Earth that could pose a danger to gem kind? Like, what if the Earth is genuinely dangerous in some way or another to gems? Like, they need the Earth, they need the cluster. Humans beat them before with the mix of gems, and maybe they could do it again. Maybe maybe Peridot is the one that's letting her emotions get to her because she became attached to Steven.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thought. I think
we don't know the story. We don't know anything about Yellow Diamond, really, and we don't know anything about the gem situation on Homeworld. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Are there any last thoughts before we move on to the final episode, which is called like Log Date?
I just wrote down Log Date.
I think it's like 7:15
something.
I could Google this too.
Yeah. That's about it. I said everything. I thought it was. I think it's the best of the Stephen Bomb. This one.
Yeah.
All right. So now on to Log Date 7:15-2.
Yes. Woohoo! I got it right. So do you want to do first impressions, or is it my turn? I forgot which order we're in.
I don't know. I'll just, well, first off, I'll say that this one is okay. So before we even talk about the episode, what do you think about how they did this? How they could have done this in reverse order, outside of the first scene where she's like, "Now I'm a crystal gem," whatever. You take that out, and all the rest of this could have happened before message received. Do you think it was better or worse that they did it this way, or neutral?
It could have been a corrective measure that they wanted to have more episodes related to Peridot, but they just didn't know when to fit it in. So they just put it at the end. They're like, well, we can do it as a kind of semi flashback.
Well,
They seem to have, but they might have also built it into the very beginning of Peridot with her tape recorder. It seemed like they were always kind of teasing the tape recorder that it would come back. So it could have just been like this is their way of showing it. Like they wanted to have the twist, so you didn't want to see her slowly getting closer and closer. So you want to have the big twist, but you also know we're gonna see her inner thoughts or what are the smaller adventures they're kind of having while they're in the barn.
Well, that's what I mean. I thought it was intentional. I don't think it was unintentional. I agree. I think it was because they wanted Peridot's turn to feel surprising, and yet they wanted to like immediately make sure it was justified, make sure everyone knew she had her adventure with Garnet as well. Like she wasn't left out. She's not Toph in Zuko's arc.
So it was good that they did that. I think.
But I mean, do you think? So we talked about the why, but did you like that it came here, or would you have rather? Did you think that it should have been before?
You know what? I personally would have liked it before because there's so much just like gags and jokes that make Peridot much more endearing and funny. I mean, I did like the part where she gets locked in the car in Message Received. That was really just funny and silly.
Child safety locks.
All this stuff that has Peridot being in peril and being goofy, and the soap opera, which
the great and lovable Peridot.
Yes, I would have liked it earlier because it would have made her much more endearing, and it would have even more like laughs at her expense. But it would make her feel like she's more of a crystal gem because she is goofy and she does this and she does that more than she's working on the drill, she's trying to get to Homeworld, and then suddenly. But she's had a change of heart, and this is why. And then we see the flashback. I think it works either way, but I guess personally, I like this episode's weird vignettes that they do, so it would have been interesting to have it earlier.
Yeah, I personally, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, especially in the way they aired these, and that's on Cartoon Network. That's not really the way. I don't think they had any say in it, Rebecca Sugar and crew. But yeah. I mean, it would have felt a little more earned. I felt it was pretty earned in Message Received, but it would have definitely felt like totally justified if Log Date had come before it. And also, it's like it's a matter of, did you want the Steven bomb to end with this big, giant, crazy reveal, or did you want there to be a little bit of falling action? I consider this it's the full disclosure of Peridot's arc, except instead of being like super dramatic, it's super goofy. But we still get the break in the action. There's no longer a threat. There's no longer anything. This is the Peridot adjusting, even though a lot of the stuff happens before she was officially a crystal gem. Maybe that was the point. Maybe it was like showing that she's been a crystal gem for longer than Message Received.
Yeah, I like this episode. I wouldn't put it up there with my favorites because I'm not like super attached to Peridot. Like, wow, all her episodes are great, but they're fun, and it was just the jokes were funny. I don't know. Maybe I have like just like the making fun of the Canadian show, which kind of similar to like Degrassi, I think.
Oh gosh.
With like
I don't know what they were. I don't think they were parodying anything specifically, but a bunch of different things. Because it almost looked a little bit like Gravity Falls, except it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a Canadian like soap opera, and there's kissing and.
It was funny though. I just thought it was hilarious because a lot of it was just like throwing stuff at the fandom and the fans of the show and being like, see, Peridot ships characters together and she's obsessed with this TV show, even though she said that she's not. And it's so goofy and silly, but you like it. It's obviously pandering a little bit, but it's so cute and funny. I mean, she's a short little Dorito. What do you want? It's funny.
See, that's the thing. Log Date, I feel like it is somewhat filler and somewhat forgettable, but I think it's an important episode because I think we needed somewhere in here a really funny episode, which this definitely was, I think we needed to see Peridot kind of living day to day when there's not really any particular drama going on. There's an overlooming threat, but whatever.
Yeah,
They don't care. It's Steven's birthday, whatever. But yeah. I think it was necessary to kind of have that little goofy time to show her. And I would love, and I'd probably do this. I'd love to watch whatever the name of the episode. Oh, Marble Madness, I believe, the first appearance of Peridot. Right next to Log Date, because I think you will see the character has gone through what we in the industry call an arc. Yeah. She has started off somewhere, and it's a good example of how important mystery is when you're introducing your villains, and how that makes them more threatening than if you had said, this is Peridot, she's a younger gem, and she's, these are limb enhancers that she's wearing, this isn't how she naturally looks. If they were to go on like that, it wouldn't be as threatening. She's threatening in the beginning, now she's a little toddler. But yeah, it's not gonna be the most like remembered episode or the most beloved. Oh gosh, that tease with Peridot and Garnet fusing, like I had the same reaction as Peridot. I'm like, what, you're gonna throw this at us? Like, you just gave us all these diamonds and now we're gonna get another fusion?
That's such a big tease. I mean, after you mentioned like, like little things like what's on the moon base, maybe something over here or something they mentioned there offhand, but Garnet straight up saying, let's fuse, and they don't. And they probably maybe they will soon, maybe they won't, but it's kind of like this, oh my god, how could you tease us so badly? And
it shows she's interested in it though. She's gonna fuse with Steven. It's gotta be Steven first.
They're the same height or something. So
yeah, that was it. That was literally Steven's only problem. He just needed a shorter partner. That's what
it's so
that's true. That'd be funny.
I can't help it. I mean, I know if I was coming from Steven Universe, if I just got into the show, I would be like, what's this? Like, so what? Fan service? Or like they're gonna do it, but they don't. Like that's so cheesy. But when you watch the show from the beginning or for like a long time, they don't use fusions that much, or when they do, they have a lot of like build up to it, like with the Sardonyx arc.
Except for Opal.
Huh?
Except for Opal. Opal gets her obligatory, oh, I'm here for a few seconds, goodbye.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love Opal for
some reason. She doesn't get to do anything ever.
Nothing.
This is her third appearance, and she hasn't done anything. She fired one multi-arrow.
Yep. But I like the fusion. I think it's
cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And I was gonna say that with the Peridot, the Garnet fusion, I'm happy it didn't happen in general, because I feel like it would have been too much too fast after a big episode twist, and she's a crystal gem, and now what? She's just gonna fuse with Garnet? Like, okay. But at the same time, it's such a big tease to be like, oh, Garnet is so willing to show her the way, but Peridot needs some more
But I thought a lot of the dialogue in this episode was clever, like how Peridot finally gets Garnet by the power couple, which by the way was two dudes. I don't know if anyone caught that. It was like Pedro and Paul or something. Pierre, yeah. I like it's just like clever that like, oh, she gets it because of a TV show. I'm sure no Steven Universe fans out there would ever have that feeling towards a TV show. That'd be silly. No, but I like that. I love the Future Vision thing. Like, I'm thinking, like, what? How did Oh, right, Future Vision. Like, she knew that, and that was just like a cute little ending thing. But yeah, it was the catch Peridot up. It was Peridot's now a crystal gem, except most of this happened before Peridot was a crystal gem, which is weird. But hey, whatever. She's a crystal gem. Here's another interesting question. Did this have to happen before she became a crystal gem? Like, was that necessary? Because I mean, the events of the episode seem like it happened literally after, the beginning of the episode happened literally after message received, but maybe not even actually.
Did she have? What was the question? Did it have to happen right after, or did the episode have to happen at all?
I'm actually trying to think. Did the episode outside of the beginning where she says that now she's a crystal gem? Did the flashbacks in the episode have to happen before message received, or maybe they happened after message received? It seems like it's right after that, but maybe it's not.
I I think in general, I think we're still experiencing it as a flashback because
Yeah.
we're still seeing it, or like, it's not happening in chronological order because then it, how they do it, it comes back to the original setup. They're still in the barn and they're sitting outside.
Yeah,
So
but was it before or after the message or message received?
I think it's supposed to be before. I think this is
Me
supposed to be
too.
all the stuff that happened before that Steven did not know about and
Mhm.
now he's listening to.
Hmm.
So yeah.
But I don't even think it necessarily had to. I think it was just an episode they needed to get in there about Peridot. It's kind of like the scene in Avatar where Zuko is having the conversation with the frog, and he's like, "Well, how am I gonna talk to these people that think I'm like a horrible person?" Um, yeah. Um, but yeah. So we've talked about Log Date. I think I think this episode's gonna get forgotten about, but I think it's cool. Yeah.
It's cute. It's very like silly and jokey episode after a big reveal that it endears the character more to people who maybe did not enjoy the character before that. So that was the purpose, to get people on Peridot's side, maybe.
Okay, so final thoughts on the Steven bomb in general. This one. What do you think about this one compared to the others? The other ones, for anyone who doesn't remember, the first one was the leading up to Jailbreak, which was like the return, Jailbreak. I think was it the one with the power outage? I can't even remember, but like all the ones that led right up to that. The second one was the one with Story for Steven, or was it We Need to Talk? I don't know. It was like a bunch of kind of unconnected episodes. There was one with Ronaldo,
Yeah.
and the third one was the Week of Sardonyx, which had more of a theme. The second one really didn't have much of a theme. It was just kind of a bunch of loose episodes like Chili Tid and Sworn to the Sword. Although that's a great episode. What did you think compared?
I definitely would say this is one of the best Steven bombs. I think the first Steven bomb had a big impression on me. I really liked the sequence of episodes, and they were just really well done, and it was really fun to watch. The second one obviously did not have as much thematic connected tissue, so it seemed like these could have been released one at a time. And Sardonyx, I don't like the arcs where the gems are fighting because it's just exhausting, and I understand it's part of the character development, but I'm happy you do it like in a big row, but it was just a very like emotionally draining, and it's sad to see them all stressed out and all the gems are just fighting and all lost again without Rose Quartz. So this Steven Baum was so much about developing Steven and Peridot's relationship, showing how they're growing and maturing, showing how the other crystal gems are part of that process, but it's not completely focused on them. It's not all about their trauma, but we still get to see Ruby and Sapphire. So I think it was just a really good mix. It had like the filler kind of episode with Steven's birthday, so people can just see more human characters. It had the funny gag episode of Log Date, and it had the really intense episodes, which everyone was, clawing about, wanting to see more of the Diamond Authority. So, what else is there to say? I'm a big fan of this Steven bomb.
Yeah, I think if I had to take a guess, I would say that this is I would say that I think that the first Steven bomb that was never planned. That was something Cartoon Network wanted to do, like after the fact. And I think I didn't watch it because I wasn't watching the show at that time. But knowing those episodes and how, I think if not all of them, at least 4 of them led it led directly into Jailbreak. Like it was like the episode, the return, or is it the return? Yeah, the one leads right into it. So that one had a strong theme, and Jailbreak's a fantastic episode. The second one, Sword to the Sword, is great. And there were some great episodes in there. There was also Rising Tides, Crashing Skies, and also it was just kind of 5 episodes that they aired every weekday. It didn't feel like a special event. The third one, the Week of Sardonyx, that one definitely felt like they were trying to go for an arc, and I think that because if we had to wait weeks and weeks while still seeing the characters, like imagine a whole month of that where Garnet and Amethyst and Pearl are all like kind of fighting. That would be a bit long to draw that out, so I'm glad they did it quickly. I wasn't crazy about friendship and how they resolved some things there and how they didn't catch Peridot. But yeah, it's all right. But yeah, I think this is probably the best one because it felt like an arc, although I think it's misnamed. I think it is not Steven's birthday week, even though, because only 2 episodes tie into that. I think it is the Week of the Diamonds. That's what I think. We learned a lot about Yellow. Well, comparatively, we learned a bit about Yellow Diamond and some about Blue Diamond.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was just not gonna overhype it with like making a mysterious name. Like, how much are we gonna learn about the diamonds? But
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting that.
yeah, we learned a lot about gem culture in the Stephen Bomb, and it was fun. I think the art and they had 2 songs in the week, and having human characters involved, having Lion involved, it was a good mix.
Yeah,
And
yep, and the comedy episode, like you said, that like good that we got one in there that still tied into everything, but was also it was a silly episode. It was a comedy episode.
which is good.
Yeah.
Any final questions on like just in general what to look forward to next, or
Yeah. What when do you think we're gonna get a new intro?
um I
Paradox of
really
Crystal
like that
Gem.
info, but I wouldn't mind. Honestly, after a while, you get used to the intros, and they're usually done really well. So every time you watch them, you see something new or something you missed the last time. So if they did it the next, whatever, the next week has a new intro, I don't mind. If they did it, much, much later down the line, I would be okay with that too. I guess the intro changed once, and they,
But now there's a roster change officially.
yeah, I mean, it would have been it would be cool if the next episode they change it up to just like instantly be like, hey, this is the new show. Don't think this is like a 1 episode deal that she's a crystal gem for 1 episode. But
the trouble with that is that they kind of have to rework the song because it's like the 4 of us taking you down. But I don't know.
yeah,
I'm sure they've got something clever and fun up their sleeves, even if it might be a long time before we see it. So yeah, that's about it. I really enjoyed this Stephen Bomb. I'm sure going back to this, at least 1 or 2 of these episodes will end up on like a top maybe 20 list of my favorite episodes. And I love how Rebecca Sugar knows fandoms. She was in plenty of them, and now she knows exactly how to work them. The lines like the Great and Level Peridot, and her asking if she has to wear a star, and them straight up saying, "You are a crystal gem." She knows how this works. She knows what sets the fans off, and speculating and loving every minute of it.
and I think it was good that we see new material. We see the different types of pearls. We see all this kind of stuff. We don't need a whole episode dedicated to that necessarily, but it's cool. It's cool that they had just some stuff sprinkled in as usual.
There's so many small things that I feel like fans will be speculating. If there's another long hiatus, which I hope there's not, but I think there's enough little details in these episodes that go unnoticed because there's so many big crazy things that I know I'm gonna watch them. I've already seen them 3 times each, and I'll probably be watching them more. So all right, so last question: do you have any predictions or speculation on what's coming next for the show?
Well, okay, I didn't see any of the spoilers or leak materials.
Me neither. None of that. We ain't talking about that. Nobody knows.
In terms of speculation, this is more of a fan speculation, not as if it's gonna really happen, but I would like to see Lapis and Jasper again. Because, or I would like them to actually go and deactivate the cluster. Not that, this whole week was talking about the cluster's coming, it's dire, they need to do it.
Yeah.
So I want them to do it, because if they do another like 5 episodes where they don't do it, you feel like, well, they're working really hard, but how dire is the situation? Isn't Earth in danger? Like, we need to go and do this. What about those, fusion monsters? We need to do this. So it
has to happen in the next like 3 episodes, because the conflict was Peridot and her allegiance, and now that's resolved. Not entirely. There's still some lingering things, but for the most part, that's resolved. They have to. I really believe the next episode they'll be drilling into the dirt. But my last prediction and the last thing I'll say is, I mentioned White Diamond earlier, and this is just kind of a crazier theory, but I think White Diamond is going to be the ultimate big bad. White Diamond is the only diamond we know pretty much nothing about. Assuming Rose is tied to Pink Diamond, I'm 99% certain she's tied to Pink Diamond. She may not be Pink Diamond. She might be Pink Diamond. She might have served under Pink. She's somewhere in the area of Pink Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that we know nothing about White Diamond, and I think that the show's gonna go on for a while. Hopefully not too long, but it's booked for a season 3. We're starting to learn a little bit about Yellow Diamond, and although it's gonna be a while before we learn anything big, probably. I think there needs to be a bigger bad that they're starting to tease, like with little shots of the portrait. We know she exists. She's a thing. I think she's going to be the biggest bad.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think they're doing it in a very smart way. It's a known unknown because we know that there are 4 diamonds. We've seen 2 of them, and we know there is a white diamond, but we don't need to have more stuff.
We don't even know any gem that could be attached to her outside of Pearl, which Pearl's iffy because looking at the color schemes of the other pearls, they all match except Pearl has white skin and pink hair, meaning she could be either. So we don't even have like a tie of how we know that Ruby and Sapphire were under Blue Diamond, and now we know we knew that Peridot and Jasper were under Yellow Diamond, and we know that Steven and Rose, they have to have some connection. There's no way coincidence.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's cool to see how they're going to develop the show going forward because maybe they have another team member and that's going to change the dynamic. They have more enemies coming their way. They already have a conflict on Earth they need to solve. So my prediction is hopefully they still have time to do emotional beats and songs.
Oh, they will.
But I hope that they will do much more like we need to save the planet. There's like conflict and action, all that good stuff.
One last thing, since we didn't actually talk about it, what do you think of Yellow Diamond's design and voice?
I like her face and I like her voice. Her neck is very creepy.
I have a crazy feeling that maybe before we see her again, her neck's gonna go through a little bit of shrinkage. Knowing how they like to draw characters on this show with quite a bit of flexibility, as we talked about, I have a feeling they might see the fan reaction go a little shorter on the neck. I personally, I love her voice, super commanding, super like this is a powerful person. This is like the when you're like really nasty teacher, like an older lady teacher that knows how to like get to you. I like her design, but I do think the neck is a bit long. I'm okay with a longer neck, but
it might just be because she was not in motion; she was just sitting.
But I think it looked worse in motion. To be honest with you, how could they? How? Maybe it was the line too, because it wasn't just a neck. They had a weird line, like I don't know,
like a little like vein.
I don't know. I don't think it was a vein. I don't know. I want to say it's an Adam's apple, but that's not right. I don't know. It's just a weird neckline, like her neck was squares. Maybe her neck's a diamond.
I have no idea where to go with it. But
all right.
I wasn't off with their design. I don't think her design was horrible. There's obviously 1 or 2 characteristics that each of the homeworld gems people latch onto. Like Jasper has a weird nose, and
but that's her gem. She doesn't have a gem on her neck. It's on her stomach, I believe. It's not. That'd be interesting if her gem was her neck. Although that wouldn't make her a diamond.
It'd be very, very strange.
I have a crazy feeling, and I hope this doesn't happen. I don't want the fandom to overreact about the neck thing. If you dislike the neck, and I totally feel you on that one, please voice your complaints in a very respectful and a very critical, analytical way. Don't like tweet at the creators of the show and be like, yo, why you create this horrible neck? Don't be like that, guys. Especially because we've seen her once.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that bad. If there's something so annoying that, the character design, is just weird and bonkers, we would have really like had a big reaction to it. The little things like, oh, each character has this kind of thing or like this kind of thing. It gives them their personality. It gives them a certain look and feeling. So it's okay if they're a little bit pushed one direction, a little bit freaky neck, a little bit weird arms or shoulders or something. It's okay. I don't know, very indifferent, chill about it.
All right. Well, that's all I have to say. We've talked for a very long time. So thank you very much for coming to my channel. If you haven't yet, I did a discussion on PhoenixPen's channel. You can go check that out. There will be an annotation and a link in the description. So go check that out. We talked about reboots and sequel series and stuff like that. Anything else you want to plug?
Nope, that's it. I had a really good time discussing this show because, you know, obviously it came out this week and we have a lot of thoughts, and I can't wait until, I don't know, the next couple arcs. Maybe they'll be Stephen Bombs too, maybe they won't, but it'll be fun to see it. And yeah,
let me know. Yeah, let us know if you want us to do more stuff like this for Steven Universe episodes or Stephen Bombs or anything else. I like having discussions. I like not just being by myself on the couch. It's nice to have someone to bounce off of, and PhoenixPen is very wonderful to have. She offers a slightly more positive counterpoint to my cynicism sometimes. And it's just great to have a different perspective on some of this stuff. So let us know what you thought down in the comments. And with that, Pie Guy Rules, out.
See you, everybody. Bye.